Welcome back. Our guests today are pretty much people that really have an interest in trying to figure out these quality of life aspects that we have that are of value to residents here in Macomb County. And part of that is this idea of a healthy lifestyle in and around our communities and in our own backyards. These recreational opportunities, I think, are provided based upon some of the trail systems we have and some of the communities organizing or putting different events together. And I know there's a lot of runs or races that they have in and around the state of Michigan. Is there a particular, I guess, central location where people can go to on a website to find information?
Yeah, absolutely. RunMichigan.com does a great job of the entire state. And it has a calendar on there that'll show races for a year out, pretty much any weekend you're looking for, and results of past races back for the last decade. So if you want to see even how the race, maybe there's a race you're looking at, want to decide what the competition is going to be like, you can look at previous years and see how things have run and so on and so forth. But RunMichigan.com.
And when you talk about the actual race results, how long does it take for that information to get fed in?
Oh, I'll tell you, it's awesome. You know, back in the old days, it used to be popsicle stick situation where they would hand you a place thing at the finish, and now everything's so computerized. They have chips now that go on the shoes. There's some areas now that have chips that go on the bibs, but they basically, 10 minutes after everyone's crossed the line, they have complete results of every age group and so on and so forth, and they can be online within 20 minutes after that. So
and they usually keep them online or post them for
they'll
year,
post.
year.
Oh no, the posting on Run Michigan, they keep them on there forever and ever. I mean,
Really?
it's back from when they started having them. So it's you can check things back there. I think the website's probably 12, 13 years old, and if you go back, every race that they've ever had is on there.
Do you have to register? I mean, like we're talking about this race that's in the second year. Do you call or register that
You can
information with them?
register online on our website, which takes you to active.com to register online, or you can fill out a form. We have registration forms, and you can fill it out and just send it in.
You know, I guess to get your race itself put on Michigan.
RunMichigan.com.
RunMichigan.com. Does an organization that might want to start a race or put a race together, what do? They reach out and call this, this organization?
Sign up and fill out the form that they have on there and become one.
Okay, and there's a way that they'll connect it over to your website
Yep.
or information your way. Very good.
It's really easy to do.
And you've got another run that's coming up somewhere in the near future as well, aside from the...
Well, the Apple Blossom Run always goes on the Macomb Orchard Trail as well, and that's in the springtime. It's in April.
Oh, okay.
So we just had that back in April.
Very good. Now, when we talk about running, and again, I tend to find, there's people of different walks of life, that either like it or don't like it or are somewhat intimidated sometimes about getting into running. And, I got to imagine people the first time they decide to run didn't go, I'm going to get into this because I'm going to be, a great runner. They probably had to kind of take those baby steps to get into it.
Absolutely, and it comes from all different walks. Sometimes it's for conditioning for another sport. And then they find out that maybe they're better at this conditioning sport than they were at the sport that they were conditioning themselves for. That sometimes happens. But other things are just basically quality of life things that we're talking about in general. It's just people find that once they start doing it, they're fine. The problem is with any endurance event that it takes 10 days physiologically to get the benefits of a workout. So what happens is people go out and try it for 3, 4, 5 days and say, I guess I'm not capable of doing this because they don't feel any better. They're not going to feel any better. Your body has not yet adapted to. So it really takes 10 days. So that first 10 days is sometimes miserable. And so, we don't try to candy coat it at all here. And so once you get into it, though, then you start to feel all of the things and you understand why there are so many people doing it. So there are definitely, but you got to go through that stage.
Well, you brought a couple of shoes, and again, I think people just make an assumption they could throw on a pair of shoes, or somebody gives them advice. These are better, certain brands better than others.
There's a couple things with shoes that are always driving.
I knew this would get you.
That always drive me crazy. First of all, you have beginners that often say, I'm going to do it for a couple weeks and decide whether or not I like it. And if I like it, then I'll make the investment in shoes. And I always say, you're not going to like it. I don't know why they feel that in our sport they can treat it differently than others. No one ever says, I'm going to go slide around on the ice for a couple weeks, and if I like it, I'll invest in some skates. But for some reason, they think they can get by with anything in our sport. You will enjoy it so much more if you're in the right footwear. I brought a couple examples just to show, but there's footwear you can overpronate, which means roll in, roll out, all of those things. And we have a machine that we put you on in the store, watch you walk, take a look at your footfall, and make decisions.
And there's no charge to do that. People
that's free. That's
and
free.
there's no requirement that they got to buy a shoe. And
Oh, absolutely not. People come in just to find out sometimes are they in the right shoe, a shoe that they bought elsewhere, and that's fine. We don't mind that at all. A shoe like this, if you take a look at the inside, this is a straight cushioning shoe. Okay, there's no gray area here on the medial side or the inside of the shoe. This one here, same price range as that shoe, but it has this piece right here, this gray piece. What that is if somebody tends to roll inward in the shoe, then this basically is more dense than the white. So by being more dense, it will force the foot to your foot will go to the softer side of the shoe. So it automatically corrects that footfall. So they make shoes that will correct inward roll, outward roll. They make shoes that have a larger forefoot cushioning unit for people that have shin splints, tighter heel counter, so on and so forth. We carry 150 different types of shoes just because there's at least that many different kinds of feet. The other thing that drives us crazy sometimes is just because somebody else had a good experience with a shoe does not mean that that shoe is for you. I always tell people when they come in and say, you know, my neighbor said that the so-and-so shoe is the greatest shoe ever, and that's always, it's only the greatest shoe if you're running in your neighbor's feet. Otherwise, it's not, because everything is so individual.
And Kathy, Tracey, have you had an experience of trying to, I mean, you do something obviously because, you know, you look like you're pretty healthy people, and you do something that kind of keeps you physically fit on a regular basis. Is it walking? Is it running? What is it you do in your life?
Well, you know, it's funny. Kevin and I were talking ahead of time. I went to the Peach Festival run last year, and Hanson's was a sponsor of it too. That got me going. And since last year, I've been running again. And it's something, you know, I looked at my age and said, oh my God, do I want to do this again? I coach AAU basketball. And again, we punish them. We make them run, you know, things like that. And I thought, you know, I have to get back and I have to do it again. I thought, oh my God, here I go. But I have had more fun starting to run again. And I told Kevin, I said, you know what?
Love those stories.
I said, this is going to be my first 5K, is the one on September 18th. And it's just that type of thing that you go, I want to do it, and why not? And if you can come back at my age and do it, you can do it. You know, that's where it's fun. And I have kids who keep me busy. The trail, you know, we bike the trail all the time too. It's just, you get out and you just start going.
Biking is the best.
And you
That's
enjoy
what I
biking
like
on
to
the trails?
Yep, biking and walking, I do.
And even the walking thing, I think some people feel intimidated sometimes getting into a race because they feel like, you know, they got to be that competitive group up front, and they're just afraid to go to one of these runs. And again, as you mentioned earlier, it's kind of like, you know, one of those gathering places. It's a community event, and when people go, you know, I recognize that it's interesting to see the diversity of people as far as their running skills that show up and actually have a good time. They don't need to win the race; they just need to find somebody.
It's the camaraderie of the group. It really is. You know, it's the. I mean, the group recognizes it's like everyone's doing the same thing, whether they're doing it at the same pace or whether they're out there. You know, it's always one of those we always say about our sport is, you know, it's like people complain in other sports about not having enough game time. We say the best people in our sport get the least amount of game time. The slower you are, the more of a game time you got out there. True. So you get more playing time. So it's and truthfully, it's you'll see that all the time where you'll see top runners going back and running somebody else back in that they have some connection with, and so on and so forth, because it's really not a, I mean, for some people, there's some competitiveness there, but it doesn't have to be. And it's not, everybody's not cutthroat there, and you'll learn in the race
Sometimes
things.
it's not as fun when you become real or extremely competitive. I mean, I've recognized that over time. It's like now I'm much more leisure. I don't, you know, when I used to run, it was basically an endurance for wrestling season, the same kind of thing. And then I realized, you know what, running is a lot of fun. It's very inexpensive to begin with. I mean, shoes, I mean, you get a good quality shoe for a decent price. But as far as the actual cost, you know, to go to these races, you know, you're supporting some kind of a, you know, an organization or a charitable group.
Food program this year.
And by doing that, you know, you're kind of giving, you know, back to the community in a certain way. But just being around the types of crowds, whether it's a smaller crowd, a larger crowd, is pretty exciting in and of itself. I don't need to compete anymore. It's just for the health benefit and clearing my head now.
Yeah, it's the event itself, and then they top it all off like with races like the Orchard Trail race, because then you have the scenery as well. So it's not, you know, you have the event, but then you're taking it all in. You don't realize how far you're running when you're doing those kind of things. I mean, it's your mind is elsewhere.
And you find like when people come to there, are you starting to see more attendance or more people coming to these races?
Building up, and people are coming together. So some, you know, maybe a husband and wife come together, and the husband will do the half marathon, and the wife will do the 5K run. You know, and we get a lot of those, a lot of people doing that. And then they come together as friends, and some go with the 5K, and some will walk, and some will run, because we do it all.
It's incredible, some of the stories, and if you ever watch some of the documentaries on TV, I'm sure you've heard some, seen some in your time, but you ever watch like the Ironman competitions and the people that enter those things, and in their stories as they go along the way, they'll pick a few people to kind of, document their story as to how they got into that, why they did it. One guy that happened to be a person who was in prison, he was a drug addict for many years. It was the latest Hawaii Ironman, and boy, if that didn't choke you up, listen to this guy's story, how he was, I mean, pretty much on the streets. He was a drug addict, had all these problems, and somehow, some way, he decided to, in prison, get involved in, just kind of like running or exercising. And when he got out to get away from that normal environment that they normally went back to, he just used running as his outlet, and here he is running an Ironman.
Life-changing.
And never would he have thought about that.
I think something even as simple as shows like The Biggest Loser and things like that have shown that anyone can be involved in this sport. It's not, there is no, I can't do that kind of thing. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And I think that's the biggest message for us with newcomers is try to get them to realize that anybody can do this sport. You just maybe can't do it today, but it might be little steps to do it, but everyone's capable of doing this.
Well, and you can tell you're all very passionate about it for various reasons. And again, you've got obviously Hanson's Running Store has been an icon in and around the area, specifically for people that are health-minded, they're health-conscious, and those that really like to get into running, and even for those that are somewhat intimidated, walking into your store. And you got 4 stores or 4 locations?
We have 4 stores. We are in Grosse Pointe, we're in Utica, which is our Macomb County, which was our first. We're in Lake Orion, and we're in Royal Oak.
Outstanding. Hopefully you're doing well, and I have a feeling you are. And and we're glad and we're grateful because you really get involved with what goes on in the community. Another thing that's interesting, and they're talking about it, is there's an expansion of the trail opportunities that are out there, and there's some projects that are being worked on, and one of those is what's called this Great Lake to Lake Trails project, and it's already pretty much the foundation has been laid. We're talking about from Lake Huron to Lake Michigan, and boy, you wanted to talk about some exciting opportunities for I guess quality of life in and around the state of Michigan that we're already being engaged in with the Orchard Trail up in the north end. This is it, and if you want to kind of check out a website to get a picture or get an understanding of what this mission, or I should say the Great Lake to Lake Trails is, just go to a particular website.
Michigan?
Oh my gosh, I forgot my line. Michigan Trails.
Org.
Go to michigantrails.org, and they got a great, I guess, depiction of the actual trail that they're talking about from lake to lake. And I think at some point in time there's going to be a race, and I got to give credit to Kevin here. He called it Michigan Coast to Coast. That would be one heck of a race here in Michigan, and I think there's an opportunity, potential to do that. And with people that have passions like yourselves, Tracey, Kathy, and Kevin, appreciate you being on the show here and sharing that passion with the public. But more importantly, I want to thank you for joining us once again on Executive Focus, and understand there's a tremendous amount of opportunity out there for recreational aspects in and around Macomb County. You just need to get out there and find it and enjoy yourselves. So thanks again for joining us on Executive Focus. Stay healthy and stay safe.